So good morning.
Good morning.
Master's Level Remembering. That's our title this evening. Wow, where am I? This month we've been inspired by those in our community who are graduating. There's a lot of people that are out there graduating. I'm going to a high school graduation this Wednesday night, and we've got many invitations or announcements, and someone's getting their master's degree. A lot of people are moving into that next phase of their life this month. But we've been enrolled in our own master's program in spirituality. And our master's program is very short. It's only 5 weeks long. It's shorter for those of you who haven't been here all 5 weeks, because we're going to do a little celebration next week. But even though it's short, it's a very powerful course of study. And we've been engaged in this work as the weeks have unfolded. And so that's why we want to do a little celebration as we come to the conclusion of our study next week. As a reminder, our master's program comes from the 4 levels of conscious evolution, or consciousness evolution, which is why me, and this came from Michael Beckwith. He's the one who developed this. The why me or mortal. It's like when something happens to us, why me? This is the first stage, that we're in the victim stage. And then we become a little more enlightened. We move into the by me, or the metaphysician. Through consciousness, I can make it happen. This is when we're first learning how to use these laws and tools that we have in the science of mind. And then we move into as me, or master. I am one with God. I am one with God, one with spirit. And then we move into the last one, which is as me, or master. Wait a minute. Sorry, I skipped one. Through me, or mystic, the Father within me doeth the work, or as me, which is the last one, I am one with God. So, and it feels important as we approach the Memorial Day weekend, because I didn't want to do this next weekend. When you're on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, it's like, wow, the weekend's almost passed, and we've missed, the chance to really embody the meaning of Memorial Day. So I wanted to kind of scoot into that a little bit early so we could spend the week and then really engage in this. So I really felt it was I do not know why my iPad is giving me fits here. I apologize. It keeps spinning here. So, no, it just skipped to the end. I'm not sure why. Okay, and we're done. Thank you.
Memorial Day.
So I thought it was really important as we approach the Memorial Day weekend that we look at the role remembering plays in our master's degree in spirituality. And remembering what? What is it we need to remember? And this morning I want us to remember 3 things. The first thing I want us to remember and think about this week are those who lost their lives in protecting our country, perhaps in war or other ways where they served us. Remember and honor those people who have done that. First, it's important to remember those individuals who've given their lives in service to our country. Remembering the sweet story, or have you remember? I don't know. I shared this story. Oh gosh, it might have been. I don't know how many years ago I shared this story, but I'm going to share it again. And it's a sweet story about a little boy named Alex. Sound familiar to anybody? Okay, so one Sunday morning, bless you.
Thank you.
He was in church, and he was staring at this large plaque that hung in the foyer of the church. He was 7 years old, and he'd been staring at this plaque for some time when the pastor walked up. And he stood beside the boy, and he said very quietly, "Good morning, Alex." "Good morning, Pastor," replied the young man, keeping his gaze on the plaque. "Pastor Dave, what are all of those names on the plaque?" "Well, son, those are the people who have died in the service," replied the pastor. Soberly, they stood together staring at that large plaque. Little Alex's voice barely broke the silence when he asked quietly, "Which one, the 9 o'clock or the 11 o'clock service?" It's a very, very sweet story. And it makes us chuckle, okay. But of course, losing a loved one or a friend who's serving their country really, really isn't anything to chuckle at. And so that's what I want to do this morning and next week and beyond. I want us to remember first and remember and honor those who have lost their human lives in service to their country. Regardless of our political persuasion or our views or opinions on war, and it's equally important to remember and to surround with the power of pure, sweet love anyone here today who's lost a loved one or a friend in such a way. I just think it's such a powerful time of the year to do that. If you've lost someone dear to you in service to our country, you don't have to raise your hand or identify yourselves, but I want everyone to know right now that they're upheld in the arms of love. I lost a great uncle in the Navy in World War II, and he's buried near where my grandmother and grandfather and my mom are buried. And it's interesting because I never knew him, but there's just such a patriotic feeling. His headstone is marked with, all the information of where he served and everything. So it's an important thing to remember. So our second point on remembering is to remember that no matter what is happening in our lives, God is present. The second master's level living concept to remember is that no matter what is happening in this journey that we call life, from the loss of a loved one to the birth of a baby, from the diagnosis of cancer to a clean bill of health, from the demise of a 20-year marriage to the blush of new love, no matter what is happening in this journey we call life, God is present. God is present. In the military and in the Girl Scouts, at the end of the day, and the Boy Scouts too, I believe, they always play taps. Did you ever sing taps when you were, I don't know if anyone was in the Girl Scouts or led a troop or was at a military function where they played taps. It was also played at military funerals. It's also understood by American servicemen as the end of the day lights out signal. And you knew, hey, taps is playing, time to turn out the lights. We're done, right? So we're all familiar with the melody, right? We all know the melody of taps, but do we know the words?
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yes.
There are.
There are words. In fact, after my talk, I'm gonna play a little video of it, but I'm gonna read the words now. Day is done. Gone the sun, from the lakes, from the hills, from the sky. All is well, safely rest. God is nigh. Fading light dims the sight, and a star gems the sky. Gleaming bright from afar, dawning nigh, falls the night. Thanks and praise for our days, neath the sun, neath the stars, neath the sky. As we go, this we know, God is nigh. As we go, this we know, God is nigh. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
This morning I want us to remember that no matter what is happening in this journey that we call life, God is nigh. God is nigh in times of trouble and in times of joy. God is nigh in times of challenges, in times of play. God is nigh in times of grief and in times in celebration. God is nigh in times of confusion and in times of clarity. God is nigh in times of pain and in times of relief. God is always nigh. There's no spot where God is not. That's what I like to remember. Dr. Ernest Holmes, of course, who is our founder of religious science, and beautifully wrote in the Science of Mind textbook that there is a divine presence at the center of things. And it ought to be so real to us that we feel it everywhere, in everything, in everyone, and in every situation. In other words, we ought to remember that everywhere, in everything, in everyone, and in every situation, God is nigh. And our remembering of this ought to be so real that we feel it. Not just recognize it up here, but that we feel it. One of the most comforting passages in the entire Judeo-Christian scripture is the 23rd Psalm. I love the following interpretation that invites us to see that God is everywhere, in everything, in everyone, and in every situation. So listen to this. The Lord is my shepherd. That's relationship. I shall not want. That's supply. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. That's rest. He leadeth me beside still waters. That's refreshment. He restoreth my soul. That's healing. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness. That's guidance. For his name's sake, that's purpose. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, that's growth through challenge, I will fear no evil, that's protection. For thou art with me, that's assurance. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me, that's discipline. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies, that's overcoming. Thou anointest my head with oil, that's divine consecration. And my cup runneth over, that's abundance. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, that's blessing. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord, that's security, forever, and that's eternity. Whew,
Yeah,
that's a lot,
it's
huh?
all there.
So number 3, remember that this life is just a short stop in the eternal journey, so let's make it count. The last line of the 23rd Psalm, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, takes us to the third idea for our master's level remembering this morning. In our first point of remembering today, I chose my words carefully when I asked us to remember those who had lost their human lives in service to our country. Lost their human lives. That's the key phrase here. Because a fundamental tenet of our New Thought teaching, as well as all spiritual teachings, is that life is eternal, life is ongoing, and life is everlasting. And Holmes tells us in The Science of Mind, he says, I shall never die, for the spirit within me is God and cannot change. My life is hid within the universe of love and light, and that light shall live forever. Go, fear of death and change, be gone from my thought. Fear of death and uncertainty, that which is cannot become that which is not, and that which I am can never change. The spirit of eternity is enthroned within me, and the life of endless ages flows through my being. From eternity to eternity, my life flows along the way of peace and harmony. Isn't that beautiful? I love how Holmes writes. He's just so clear and poetic. So the third idea I want us to remember this morning is twofold. First, life is eternal. If you need to explore that idea, to really embody it, please do it in whatever way that you would find meaningful to you. And the second fold of our third idea is that, well, yes, life is eternal. This human experience has a finite time. It does have a shelf life, right? And we know that we don't know when it will be over, so we have to make it count. We really don't know. George Burns once said, when I talk about thinking young, I'm talking about enthusiasm, keeping active, having plans and projects for tomorrow, meeting people, doing things. A lot of people are too quick to decide that their lives are over. And if you really think your life is over and you have no place to go, I advise you to take very short steps. It will take longer to get there. The point is, with a good positive attitude and a little luck, which of course we all know there is no such thing as luck, right? Luck is laboring under correct knowledge. There's no reason why you cannot live to be 100. Once you've done that, you've really got it made, because very few people die over 100 years old. Very few people over 100 die, right? So, while we're here experiencing this brief portion of our eternal journey, let's live. Let's live. Let's be fully present. Let's fully love. Holmes wrote, we need not prepare to meet God. We are meeting him every day and each hour in the day. We meet him in the rising sun, in the flowing stream, in the budding rose, in the joy of friendship and love, and in the silence of our own soul. And on page 270 of The Science of Mind, he wrote, it is not necessary, if we should pass on tonight, that anyone should remember that we ever have lived. All that means anything is that while we live, we live. With this in mind, and believing that there is an infinite law of spirit or law of life which tends to multiply our gifts, because in doing so it multiplies its own experience, its own pleasure, its own fruition, we may assume that spiritual man is already a success, is already supplied with everything he needs. So this morning we are living at the master's level by remembering and honoring those who have given this human life over in the act of serving our country, by remembering that in every situation, God is nigh, to use the words of Taps, and by remembering to remember that life with a capital L is eternal, and since human life is the life that we live, since this human life we live is not, let me go back. By remembering to remember that life with a capital L is eternal, and since this human life we live is not, let us fully live and fully love while we are here. So I want to conclude with this poem, and it's not by a famous poet. It's written by a young man who was 19 when he enlisted in the Navy several years ago, and he wrote this poem the night before he shipped out to Iraq. And it's called My Feelings by John Wolfe.
John who?
Wolfe. Just a young 19-year-old kid, right? He says, "It's time to go to work now, just another day indeed. Only difference is my work hurts and makes people bleed. Protecting the United States is my job. I feel I do so well. Only problem with that is when I die, is it heaven or hell? I volunteered for this job knowing full of its threat. I cannot and will not come home until the mission is met. I don't know why I do it, for recognition and merit, not so. For when it's time to leave, it's simple. Time to go. It's weird how I feel right now, leaving the ones that I love, a feeling I can't explain, a feeling sent from above. Why there's war, I don't know, to separate wrong from right. If that is the case, then I'm confused, because it just causes a bigger fight. Why can't we learn to love more, like we were always brought up? There's so much to look forward to, like watching your child grow up. I'd like to take the time out now to thank everyone I know. Your different paths of life certainly helped me grow. I'm being watched over for certain. Of this I am confident. I know God is looking out. I feel the love He sent. I'm not scared to go to war. It's my duty now to help protect the United States. Where does the courage come from? I don't know where or how. I will come home soon, but this is no guarantee. This feeling that I feel right now is surely you loving me."
Oh,
Really sweet.
yeah.
So wherever we are, whatever we are doing, God is nigh. And knowing this, we choose to live life to its fullest. And so it is. So now I have a video